Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Agnes. I am a 22-year-old full-time artist who usually only works in oil paint. And today, since I'm moving, I went through all of my stuff and I realized that I have a barely touched pack of soft pastels here, and ever since I started painting I have barely touched this medium. But before, those 4 years ago when I started painting, this was my absolute favorite medium in the world and I would draw with it every single day. So in this introduction tutorial video, I will be using, I don't know what this is called. Is it cardboard paper? Basically the one that you lay on the floor when you're painting walls and stuff, like the cheap paper that comes on a roll. Since it was rolled up, I attached it to an MDF board with my lovely hair clips. And today we will be doing a double full figure drawing of me and my fiance.
And before I go in with the pastels, I like to do a very light pencil drawing just to make sure that everything is in the right place before I start rendering. And I didn't film this part, but I was using grids, which is what you will see me like erasing now. I'm erasing all of the lines. Here are all of the different materials that I use in association to this medium, but you obviously don't need everything of this. Like one pack of a few colors is enough. The brands I'm using are these Color soft pastels, Pastel soft pastels, and then this random brand that I can't remember the name of, but I'm trying to type it here. The cheapest charcoal I could find, Derwent pastel pencils, and I think my favorite are these Pit pastel pencils that I buy from Faber-Castell individually. I wouldn't say that I noticed much of a difference with these different brands. I have tried all of them. I think they are in a similar price range and they perform very similarly. If I had to choose a favorite, I guess I would choose Color, but to be honest, like you can see with the swatches, they are very similar. I will obviously go more in depth later in this video, but if I just have to do like a little crash course in how to think when using soft pastels, I would personally recommend going from dark to light if you want a smooth transition, which I'm guessing you want if you do skin tones. So here I am demonstrating a little ball of skin, which is quite gross when you put it like that. But I basically started with the darkest brown color, and then I kept going with my darkest mid-tone, and then I'm going in now with like the mid-tone, which is like this brownish color. And then I am doing this more yellow color, and I personally like it if they aren't that similar in hue, meaning that one of the midtones is more red, one of the midtones is more yellow, because I feel like that gives you the most dynamic, realistic, and interesting skin tone. So then what I do is that I take my reference photo and I start looking at the shadows of the skin. Then I look at my reference photo and I locate which color is like the undertone for the shadowy areas of the skin. And in my opinion, like the shadow here on the side of my cheek has this like greenish undertone. And then I also start locating all of the different areas of the face that also have this shade in it. So for example here, like by the nose, I can see like under the chin, under the mouth. Stuff like that, and then I take that crayon that best fits the tone I'm seeing on the photo and I start applying it in all of the areas where I think it fits. So on the side of the cheek, in the like eyebrow, nose connecting shadow, like basically the shadowy areas that have this like cool undertone. And once I feel like I have covered all of the areas with the greenish tone, I take the next color that I find in the shadows, which would be, in this case, like this burnt sienna, dark red, brownish color. And I start applying that accordingly, wherever like I find a hint of it in the photo. And I suppose you could describe it like my mind is kind of breaking down the photo, similar to how one of those like vector art style filters would, where each of the colors becomes its own shape, kind of simplified. I know for beginners it can be a bit hard to sense all of these rainbow colors like hidden within the skin. Like for example, it wouldn't surprise me if you can't see any blue tints in the shadows, like I was saying earlier, because this does take a while to get used to. Yeah, so when I was a beginner and I was struggling to see these different shifts in color tone, one thing that I would do is I would go onto like Instagram editing or any editing app like Photoshop, Lightroom, Visco, whatever you may use, and I would kind of just deep fry the shit out of that photo. I would play around with contrast, definition, sharpness, saturation, and I would basically like see when you break the photo down, like which colors are highlighted, which colors pop out. Maybe like the blues become really super clear when you push up the saturation. Yeah, but going back to the drawing, I have basically chosen my third color from dark to light, but we are already getting into the very light colors because my skin is very pale. But I basically picked this mustard yellow that I am kind of layering wherever I can see it in the photo. And surprisingly, I feel like the more bright, rainbowy colors you add, the more realistic the result will be in the end for some reason. And then here I am kind of breaking my own rule from going dark to light because I don't know, I guess I just felt like putting in some highlights. But I picked this really, really light pink color, and I am just once again kind of applying it in the general shape where I can see it in the photo. And slowly but surely, once you go through all of your colors, you start adding more and more. You will basically just see the portrait come together like a puzzle. Because then I could see some pink in the photo. So I add this like hot pink, especially on the mouth, of course. But then I actually keep layering it in the different areas of the face where I can sense some pinkish undertones. Which could be, for example, for me, like under the eyes and in some of the shadowy areas. Although I stand by the fact that like dark to light is easier to blend smoothly, there really are no rules to like the order of which you do things. As you can see, most of my colors aren't really touching yet, so it doesn't really matter if you apply the pinks or the yellows or the browns first. As you can see now, I'm doing like the details, the very dark details of the eyes and the neck here, the shadowy areas. And yeah, it kind of doesn't matter because I have not blended all of the colors yet. So now that I've created this almost mosaic puzzle of different like patches of different colors, it is time to glue them together, where I will take my more naturalistic skin colored pencils, crayons, and I will start connecting all of these little islands of colors together. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it further because as you can see, I will just keep grabbing a crayon and I will keep applying it and keep layering it until like and the entire paper surface is covered. So at this stage, I have basically applied all of the different undertones that I could see, and it's looking a bit clownish. Like the blue parts are very blue, and the pink parts are very pink. And compared to the photo, obviously, I need to bring these tones together into a more cohesive, naturalistic overtone. I don't know if overtone is a word used in English, but that is the best way to describe it. So for this next layer, I am actually switching from the pastel crayons to the pastel pencils. And if you don't own any pastel pencils, those aren't necessary. Don't worry. You can still do this with the crayons. Yeah, I just prefer the skinnier tip when I am doing tiny little details like in the eyes and stuff like that. But like I said, like you don't need to buy them specifically for this. But during this step, my goal or mindset is basically just like refine the details and blend all of the different colors together. Yeah. So once again, generally working dark to light, I grabbed my brown pencil and I am refining the different shadows on my face. And if an area is too blue or too pink, too bright, I will layer it thinly on top to kind of mute that color down. And I'm trying to find like a pattern and a rule step by step for you to follow. But I'm kind of winging it. I'm like, okay, I should add this color here. Okay, now I'm gonna work on the mouth. Like, I'm not doing it in a particular order. I am basically just like grabbing a pencil, then I look at the pencil and I say, how can you help me bring this portrait closer to this picture? And then once I feel like this pencil has done everything in its power, I take another one. And then I will just sort of layer until I'm close enough, basically. Next up for me was tackling the hair. And I really don't like drawing hair. So I chose to do a stylistic choice of basically not doing it. I just kind of took my finger, dipped it in like charcoal leftovers, and did this very faded out look, and then I only drew in like the highlights and the shadows. But moving on to the body and the clothes, I am using the exact same technique as I did on the face. I just keep layering, basically. And now you can see me starting on my fiance's face. Here I did a slightly different approach because I got slightly lazier. But here I started drawing out the details of the face. Then, similar to how I did before, I start layering. I started with the burnt sienna, the green, and the yellow. And then moving on to the different highlights. This time, because I got a bit lazy, I started kind of blending immediately instead of doing all of the proper layering and then blending. Because I liked the instant gratification. So as you can see, his face came together a lot quicker. Same goes for the body. I'm just like layering. I find the blue undertones. I find the darkest darks. Start outlining the general shape to make sure that I have like a good shape to work from. And then I start layering the different colors, and then with the pencils I start blending almost immediately because, like I said, I got a bit lazy after doing my face. Did it super quickly. I just like outlined it with the darks and the bluish undertone, in with the yellow midtones, added the highlights wherever I could see them, and then I basically began blending with the pencils. And I gotta say, watching this back is like super satisfying for some reason. If you haven't tried soft pastels, I really recommend it. I think it's a very quick and fun medium, and it's really nice for the instant gratification brain. You know, as you can see like in the video, you get kind of a good result quite immediately, which I like because I'm not a very patient person. So while you are enjoying this extremely satisfying time lapse of me drawing my boyfriend's naked legs, I thought I could get a word in from our sponsor. Because the sponsor is none other than myself. Because no brands are sponsoring me, okay? It's just me. I'm trying to make a living. Please hear me out. But basically, if you enjoy this video and you enjoy my very chill, quite entertaining style of teaching, and you want to learn painting from me, I have great news for you, because next week I am launching my brand new painting course that is a lot more thorough than this, because painting is my main medium after all. It has around 6 hours of video lessons, and then it also has more than 10 time lapses of me painting and talking about some of my most successful paintings. If this sounds interesting to you, I would really recommend signing up to the waiting list in my description box. Because once the course gets out next week, it will only be available for 5 days. It will be fun, I swear. But now I'm gonna shut up and go back to the video. And then it's pretty straightforward. I just keep working my way across the paper. Once again, using similar colors like this darker blue undertone, the browns, and then the yellow midtones, and then I finish it off with the highlights. I sort of blend the highlights into the other color. Now I am basically giving Andy the same hair treatment like I gave myself, sort of this like misty, foggy charcoal vibe, And I ended up doing the exact same thing for the background because I wasn't sure if I wanted us to just float in the air or if I wanted to render the sheet. But I'm quite happy with this like very faded, dreamy look.
I might do some touch-ups tomorrow, but here is basically the result of 5 hours of drawing. So soft pastels are definitely a very quick medium, and I gotta say that is something that I have missed about it compared to oil painting. I'm gonna insert some footage of it in daylight here because the lighting here is really polluted right now. I hope you learned something, and like I was talking about earlier, if you want to learn painting from me, which is my main medium, I will link the waiting list in the description, and you can take the full like 6-hour course with like worksheets and lessons and all of that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys.